The moment the story begins, something already feels different in the air. The day is calm, the wind soft, and the sky above the quiet lakeside almost looks painted by hand. But the real hook enters when Sandra steps onto the wooden path leading toward the water and sees a familiar figure sitting alone at the edge of the dock. It is Keanu, but not the version the world sees. This Keanu is quiet, reflective, and clearly carrying a heaviness she cannot name. He looks like someone trying to remember how to breathe. She almost calls his name, but something stops her. Something about his posture feels fragile, almost like breaking the moment would break him too. She takes a slow step forward, and the wood under her feet makes a soft sound. Keanu turns his head slightly, not surprised but not expecting her either. He gives her a small smile. It is warm but also tired, like someone who has been trying to stay strong for too long. Sandra sits beside him without saying anything. She feels that words right now would only add noise to the silence he is holding. The lake is still, reflecting soft colors of the late afternoon. Sandra looks at him carefully, noticing the small signs people miss. His shoulders are a little tense. His hands are still. His eyes carry something she has not seen in a long time. It makes her heart tighten with concern. To hook the viewers deeper, the story now shifts into a quiet emotional tension. Sandra gently tries to lighten the moment by saying she did not expect to find him here. Keanu nods slowly and says he just wanted a place to clear his mind. But there is a slight shake in his voice that makes Sandra curious and worried at the same time. She wonders what he is holding inside. She wonders if something happened or if it is one of those personal storms that arrive without warning. The suspense grows as the viewer begins to sense that something important is hidden beneath the surface. Sandra takes a soft breath and lets the silence stay. Sometimes silence speaks better than speech. She looks at the lake and then at Keanu again. She remembers how he often carries the world's weight with quiet patience. She also knows he rarely opens up before he is ready. That is why she does not push him. Instead, she says something simple. She tells him she is here. She tells him he does not need to explain anything. Those small words land gently between them like warm light in a cold room. Keanu looks at her, and for a moment his eyes soften. He says he knows. He says he came here because he needed a place where nothing demands anything from him. No noise, no schedule, no pressure, just a moment to breathe. Sandra nods, feeling the sincerity in every word. She tells him it is okay to feel worn out. It is okay to take a step back. He smiles once more, but the sadness behind it does not hide. This is where the story begins to deepen. The viewer now feels a connection and a curiosity. They want to know what he is holding inside and what brought him here in this state. As the conversation continues, Sandra starts to see small hints that this peaceful place might not be only a place for rest, but a place where Keanu comes to face something he has avoided. The way he looks at the horizon, the way he avoids long eye contact, the way his breath sometimes breaks in the middle. Sandra senses something big behind all of this. Maybe a memory, maybe a fear, maybe something he never shared with anyone. This emotional tension creates a natural pull that keeps the viewer watching, waiting for the reveal. The air around them becomes softer as the sun starts to lower. The colors deepen and create a warm glow around the lake. Sandra notices Keanu holding something in his hand. It is small, worn, and looks old, a device she cannot yet identify from where she sits. She wonders what it is and why he is holding it like something precious. There is a suspenseful energy around it, something that hints at a deeper personal meaning. The viewer is now pulled into a quiet mystery. What is Keanu holding, and why does it matter so much in this moment? Sandra finally asks him gently if he wants to talk about anything, not because she wants answers, but because she wants him to feel safe. Keanu does not avoid the question. He looks at the device in his hand and then looks at her. He says he came here to remember something important, something he has kept to himself for a long time. His words are calm but heavy. Sandra feels her heart beat a little faster. The viewer feels the tension rise. Something important is about to surface, but not yet. Not in part one. Instead, the story will let the suspense grow. Keanu tells Sandra that he came to the lake today because he needed clarity. He needed a moment with no noise so he could think about the things he has kept hidden. He tells her he is not sad. He is not struggling. He just wants to reconnect with something he lost along the way. Sandra listens closely. She feels his honesty and his vulnerability. She leans a little closer and tells him she is glad he is here. She tells him that even silent moments can heal the heart. Keanu nods and looks at the lake again. The emotion on his face is gentle but deep, like someone carrying memories that shaped him. The mystery deepens when Keanu finally opens his hand and shows Sandra what he has been holding. It is an old music player, scratched, simple, clearly used for many years. Sandra looks at it with surprise. She asks why he carries something like this. Keanu gives a small smile and says it has all the music that saved him during moments when life felt heavy. Sandra becomes quiet. The viewer now feels a wave of emotion. This small object carries something big, something personal, something powerful. And the story hints that this playlist will soon reveal more than anyone expects. Keanu says he came here because this lake was the first place he ever listened to the songs that kept him strong. He says he has not played the playlist in a long time. Today, something inside him told him to come back and listen again. Sandra places her hand gently near his but does not touch. She gives him space and support. She tells him she would like to hear the playlist someday if he ever wants to share it. Keanu looks at her with a soft expression. He says maybe. Maybe today is the day. And with that quiet line, the hook for part 2 is born. The viewer now feels the suspense, the curiosity, and the emotional pull that will make them stay for the next part of the story. Because the playlist is not only music. It is a doorway into Keanu's hidden memories and the moment Sandra will never forget. The sun was slowly sinking behind the tall trees when Keanu finally placed the old music player between them on the wooden dock. The soft evening light touched the surface of the water and made everything around them feel calm but charged with emotion. Sandra watched him carefully, trying not to rush him in any way. She understood that this moment meant something important, something he had protected for many years. She waited with quiet patience, letting the wind speak while he gathered his thoughts. The hook here begins when Keanu takes a long breath, the kind of breath someone takes before opening a part of themselves they rarely share. Sandra felt the air change. It became heavier but also warmer, like a memory trying to return from the past. Keanu looked at the small device again, and the way he held it showed how deeply connected he was to whatever was inside it. She wanted to ask what the playlist meant to him, but she stopped herself. Instead, she let him speak whenever he felt ready. He finally said the playlist was not just songs. It was something he made during a time when life felt quiet and complicated at the same time. A time when he needed something to hold on to. His voice stayed gentle, but Sandra could hear the weight behind every word. The evening continued to grow softer, and the lake reflected orange and blue shades that made the moment feel almost unreal. Sandra leaned slightly closer, not touching him but showing she was fully present. Keanu said the playlist carried the pieces of his life that he never talked about openly. Every song was tied to a moment he survived or a moment that healed him. He added that the playlist held both pain and hope, but most people never knew he kept anything like this. Sandra listened with full attention, drawn into the emotional depth he rarely shared. The viewer watching this story now feels the same pull, waiting for what will happen next, feeling the suspense increase slowly and naturally. Keanu pressed a small button on the device and the screen lit up weakly. Sandra noticed the cracked corner and faded buttons. She realized this was not just an object. It was a memory he carried with him everywhere, like a friend who never left him. She asked softly why he decided to bring it here today after so long. Keanu said something inside him told him it was finally time to listen again. He added something even more surprising. He did not only want to listen alone. He wanted to share it with someone who understood silence and kindness the way she did. Those words struck Sandra deeply. She felt her eyes grow soft as she looked at him. She had no idea he valued her presence this much. The hook strengthens further when Keanu puts one earbud in his ear and then gently offers the other to Sandra. She accepts it without a word, placing it carefully in her ear. For a moment, neither of them breathes. Then the first song begins. It is soft, warm, and strangely peaceful. It feels like sunlight entering a quiet room. Sandra closes her eyes for a moment, letting the music wash over her. She feels something in her chest loosen. The song is simple but emotional, like someone learning how to stand again after falling many times. She looks at Keanu and sees him lost in the melody. He looks lighter, more present, as if the song is connecting him to a part of himself he forgot. As the music flows, Sandra starts to feel that every note carries a story she has not heard yet. It feels like the playlist is not only about Keanu's past, but also about how he found strength through small, peaceful moments. Suddenly, she wonders if this playlist was made during a time when he felt alone. Maybe this music was the one thing that reminded him of hope. The viewer begins to feel the emotional pull, wanting to know what each song means and what stories hide behind the melodies. When the song ends, Keanu does not speak. He just lets the silence settle between them. Sandra waits a few seconds and then asks softly what he felt when he made this playlist. Keanu says he felt lost at that time. Not broken, not defeated, just lost in a quiet way that is hard to explain. He says this playlist guided him through nights when he felt disconnected from everything. He adds something that creates deeper intrigue. He says one of the songs on the playlist changed his entire life, but he will reveal that moment later. Sandra feels her heart beat faster. The viewer now leans in, sensing something big is coming. The second song starts. This one is different. It carries a soft sadness, like the echo of a memory someone tries to let go of. Sandra hears distant piano notes that create a feeling of longing. She looks at Keanu again and sees him staring at the water. His jaw tenses slightly and his eyes dim with old emotions. It is a moment filled with vulnerability, and Sandra feels protective of him. She does not reach out physically, but her presence becomes a steady support. She tells him quietly that she is here and that he does not have to hide anything. Keanu nods softly but stays silent. The suspense grows when Sandra suddenly realizes the song feels too emotional to be random. It feels like it connects to something specific in Keanu's life, something personal. She wonders if this playlist holds moments he never shared with anyone, not even close friends. She starts to understand this is not just about music. This is a journey into his quiet heart. The viewer recognizes the emotional stakes growing and continues to stay engaged, wanting to uncover the truth behind each track. As the third song begins, something unexpected happens. Sandra feels a chill travel through her body, not from cold but from recognition. She feels like she has heard this melody somewhere before. The tune is gentle, rising and falling like soft waves. She frowns slightly and tries to remember where she encountered it. She looks at Keanu, but he is lost in the music, unaware of her growing curiosity. The feeling becomes stronger. She knows this song from somewhere, but she cannot place the memory. The mystery deepens again, hooking the viewer even further. Sandra decides not to ask yet. She waits until the song ends. When it does, Keanu opens his eyes slowly, as if waking up from a dream. He looks at her and asks what she felt during the song. Sandra hesitates. She tells him she felt something familiar in it. She cannot explain it clearly, but says it touched something deep inside her. Keanu listens quietly, and for a moment his expression shifts into something thoughtful, almost secretive. He says she is not wrong. He says the playlist carries surprises, even she does not know yet. This line makes the viewer lean forward. Something is being hidden. Something is waiting. Something will soon break open in an emotional way. Keanu then says something that increases suspense even more. He tells Sandra that the playlist has one final song he has never shared with anyone. He says it carries a piece of truth that changed him forever. He says he will tell her when the moment feels right. Sandra feels both curiosity and concern rising in her chest. She knows part 2 will not reveal everything yet, but it sets the stage for a turning point. The evening grows darker, but the moment between them grows brighter. The playlist is becoming more than music. It is becoming a doorway into the truth Sandra does not see coming. The night slowly wrapped itself around the lake as part 3 began, and the quiet silence between Keanu and Sandra grew more meaningful with every passing minute. The soft glow of the sky shimmered on the water, and the cool air carried a calm that felt almost unreal. The playlist had already revealed more emotion than Sandra expected, but she could feel that the deeper truth was still hiding in the songs Keanu had not yet played. The hook starts the moment Keanu carefully holds the music player, almost as if he is afraid of what the next track will awaken inside him. Sandra watches him with gentle eyes. She notices the small hesitation in his fingers and the soft rise and fall of his breath. She wonders what kind of memories these songs hold. She wonders why his voice becomes softer every time he talks about them. She senses that something personal and vulnerable is coming, and even though she does not know what it is, she prepares herself to hold whatever he shares with respect and care. The viewer feels the same anticipation, waiting to see what emotional door will open next. Keanu finally presses the button, and the next song begins. It is calm at first, almost too calm, with soft notes that drift like falling leaves. Sandra closes her eyes as she listens. She feels a deep stillness settle inside her, the kind that arrives only when a person is about to understand something important. She listens to the gentle melody and feels something tug at her chest. The song feels like a story of someone searching for clarity in darkness but never losing hope. When she opens her eyes, she sees Keanu staring at the water, his lips pressed together in a quiet memory he is not ready to speak aloud. She asks softly if he wants to tell her what this song means to him. Keanu does not look at her immediately. He takes a slow breath and finally says this song represents a moment when he felt completely lost, a moment when he was carrying something heavy inside him but did not want to trouble anyone. He says he used this song to remind himself that even in silence, strength can grow. Sandra listens closely, her heart warming with understanding. She tells him that sharing this with her means more than he knows. He gives her a small smile and says the playlist has always been a reminder that healing can begin even in the quietest moments. The suspense deepens when Keanu suddenly pauses the playlist before the next track starts. Sandra looks at him, slightly confused. His expression shifts into something thoughtful and serious. He tells her the next part of the playlist is different from the rest. It does not hold memories of sadness or fear. Instead, it holds moments when he started finding light again. He says these songs helped him rebuild parts of himself he thought were gone. Sandra feels something warm spread through her chest. She tells him she is ready to listen. She tells him she is honored he trusts her with something so personal. Keanu presses play again, and this time the music changes completely. The melody is brighter, more hopeful, like someone stepping forward after a long time of standing still. Sandra feels a soft smile appear on her face. She looks at Keanu and sees his shoulders relax a little, as if the song is helping him breathe with ease. The music carries a feeling of peace and gentle strength. Sandra feels her own heart grow lighter. She realizes that this playlist is not only about pain. It is also about finding courage and learning how to stand again. When the song ends, Keanu shares a surprising detail. He says this playlist helped him during times when he needed to remind himself that kindness still existed in the world. He says the songs helped him feel human again. Sandra listens with full attention, feeling her respect for him deepen. She tells him that this playlist is not only a memory, it is a part of him. He nods quietly. She asks him when he made it, hoping to understand him better. Keanu smiles softly and says something unexpected. He says he made some of the songs after moments she was part of, moments she never realized touched him. Sandra freezes with surprise. The viewer feels the sudden emotional spike. She tries to ask which moments he is talking about, but Keanu gently shakes his head and says he will tell her soon. He says the playlist will explain everything by itself. Sandra feels the suspense building more and more. She knows there is something hidden inside these songs, something personal that connects her to his past. The emotional tension becomes deeper and more mysterious. The viewer now feels completely pulled into the story, waiting for the truth that will soon unfold. Keanu then selects another track. This one begins with a slow, steady rhythm. The music feels like someone walking through a long hallway toward something important. Sandra listens carefully and her heart beats faster. There is something familiar in the notes again, the same way she felt with the earlier song. She tries to remember where she has heard it, but the memory escapes her. She feels an uneasy curiosity rising inside her. Did this melody belong to a moment she lived but forgot? Or is there something more meaningful behind it? Keanu watches her reaction quietly. When the song fades, he asks her again what she felt. Sandra admits she feels something pulling her toward a memory she cannot catch. She tells him it feels almost like a shadow of something she once lived but never realized was important. Keanu listens with a calm expression, but there is a hint of emotion behind his eyes, something warm and almost hidden. He tells her it makes sense that she feels that way. He tells her she is connected to the playlist more than she knows. Sandra feels a shiver, soft but intense. The viewer leans forward, sensing the twist forming. The conversation deepens when Keanu decides to share something he never told anyone. He says there was a time in his life when he felt alone even when people surrounded him. He says he used to sit in quiet places like this lake, listening to music and trying to remember who he was outside of everything the world expected from him. He says during those days, one unexpected moment changed everything. Sandra listens with full concentration, wanting to know what that moment was. The suspense grows naturally and strongly. Keanu then says something that touches her deeply. He says the moment that changed everything involved someone who showed him kindness without asking for anything in return. Someone who understood silence the way he did. Someone who made him feel seen at a time he thought he had become invisible. Sandra feels her breath slow. She wants to ask who that person was, but something inside her knows that the answer will not be simple. The viewer now feels a powerful emotional curiosity rising. Keanu takes a deep breath and pauses the playlist again. His hand rests on the device, still and thoughtful. He tells Sandra the next song is the one that changed his life. He says he has never played it for anyone. He says before he shares it, he wants to tell her something important. Sandra feels her heartbeat echo through her chest. The atmosphere around them becomes thick with anticipation. The lake seems quieter. The air seems heavier. The moment seems larger than both of them. Keanu looks at her with calm, gentle eyes and says she has been part of his life in ways she never knew. He says the playlist holds proof of that. Sandra feels a stunned stillness inside her. She does not know what the truth is yet, but she knows it will change the way she understands everything. The night had become completely silent when part 4 began, as if the world itself was waiting to hear what Keanu was about to say. The lake reflected the moonlight so clearly that it looked like a glass surface holding secrets beneath it. Sandra felt the weight of the moment press gently against her chest. She could sense that something important was coming, something Keanu had held inside him for years. The hook begins the moment Keanu keeps his hand on the music player, not pressing play yet, because he knows the next song is the one that will reveal the truth he has avoided for so long. Sandra watches him quietly, her heart steady but heavy with anticipation. She does not rush him. She knows Keanu opens up only when he feels safe. She sits close enough for him to know she is there but far enough to give him the space he needs. She feels the cool air on her skin, but the warmth from this emotional moment keeps her from feeling the cold. She wonders what kind of truth he wants to share. She wonders why he looks both calm and scared at the same time. She wonders why her own heartbeat grows faster every time she looks at him holding that old music player. Keanu slowly turns toward her and says something that instantly deepens the suspense. He says the playlist is not just about his past. It is also about the people who helped him survive it. He says some of the songs carry emotions he kept hidden for years. Sandra listens carefully, feeling her breath become lighter and shorter with each word. She asks him softly what he means. Keanu looks at the water again and says there was a moment in his life when he felt like he was slipping away from himself. He says he was tired, not physically but emotionally, spiritually, and quietly. He says he kept going, but deep inside he felt like something was fading. Sandra feels her heart ache for him. She knows what quiet emotional exhaustion feels like. She knows how heavy it can become when you cannot find someone who understands it. She whispers that he can tell her anything. Keanu gives a small nod and says that during that time, he met someone who showed him kindness without knowing how much he needed it. Someone who saw he was carrying too much but never tried to fix him or question him. Someone who offered peace without effort. Sandra feels a strange tightness in her chest, as if her body recognizes the story before her mind does. Keanu then says something even more surprising. He says the person who helped him in that quiet moment never knew the impact they had on him. Sandra leans slightly closer, her eyes locked on his face. She asks softly who that person was. Keanu does not answer yet. Instead, he presses play on the music player and the next song begins. The moment the melody starts, Sandra feels a deep shiver rush through her body. The music is gentle, warm, and strangely familiar, almost like a memory wrapped in sound. The song begins with a soft piano that rises and falls like a calm heartbeat. Then a quiet harmony follows, creating a peaceful atmosphere that feels like a safe place. Sandra closes her eyes and lets the melody enter her heart. She feels something inside her stir, something she cannot describe with words. She feels a warmth, like a moment from long ago trying to return to her. She opens her eyes and looks at Keanu. He is staring at her with an expression filled with meaning, as if he is waiting for her to recognize something. She finally asks him why this song feels familiar. He smiles softly and says because it was created from a memory they both share. Sandra freezes. Her mind races, trying to search her past for the right moment, but everything feels blurry. She asks him quietly what memory he is talking about. Keanu stops the music for a moment and tells her that years ago, during a day when he was quietly struggling, she did something he never forgot. She sat with him in silence and let him breathe. No questions, no pressure, just presence. He says she gave him a moment of peace without even knowing he needed it. Sandra feels her eyes warm with emotion. She remembers faintly, a small moment, a quiet afternoon, a gentle conversation. At the time she thought it was simple. She had no idea it became something so important for him. Keanu explains that after that moment he went home and tried to put the feeling into music. He says he created the melody not to express pain but to honor the peace she gave him. This revelation hits Sandra deeply. She feels a mix of shock and tenderness rush through her. The viewer feels the same emotional impact, fully immersed in the intimacy of the moment. Keanu then says he kept the song hidden because it was too personal. He never played it for anyone, not because he was ashamed, but because it reminded him of a quiet strength he found in that moment with her. He says the song became a reminder that even small acts of kindness can save someone without them noticing it. Sandra listens with her heart wide open. She feels overwhelmed, grateful, touched, and surprised all at once. She tells him she never knew he was going through something that heavy back then. She tells him she would have stayed longer if she had known. Keanu smiles gently and says she stayed long enough. The moment grows deeper when Keanu finally says he shared the playlist because he wanted her to hear the song that came from the piece she unknowingly gave him. He says he owed her this truth. Sandra feels her throat tighten with emotion. She feels honored in a way she cannot explain. She wants to speak, but words do not come easily. Instead, she places her hand gently on the dock, close to his, not touching, but offering the same silent support she once gave him years ago. Keanu looks at her hand and understands the meaning perfectly. The suspense rises again when Keanu says the playlist has one last track, and it is the most important one. He says the final song holds a truth he has carried with him for years, a truth he never had the courage to share. Sandra feels her heart race. She knows that whatever comes next will change everything between them. She feels both ready and afraid. The viewer also senses that the real twist is coming, something emotional and unexpected. Keanu holds the music player gently, almost protectively, and says he will play the final song only when she feels ready. Sandra looks at him with steady eyes and says she is ready now. But Keanu shakes his head softly. He says the final song is not only for her to hear, it is for her to understand fully, and he wants to make sure the moment is right. The air around them felt almost frozen when Part 5 began. The lake was calm, the sky quiet, and the entire night seemed to pause, waiting for Keanu to reveal the final truth hidden inside the playlist. Sandra could feel the tension settling gently in her chest. Not a painful tension, but the kind you feel when you know a moment is about to change the way you see someone forever. The hook starts the moment Keanu looks down at the music player, his fingers resting on it as if touching something sacred. Sandra leans in slightly, her expression soft and open. She wants to reassure him, but she also does not want to interrupt the delicate emotional process unfolding inside him. She can see the way his breath slows, the way his eyes soften, the way his shoulders rise and fall with careful control. She realizes the final song must hold something incredibly personal, something he never intended to say out loud, something that might bring both of them to a deeper truth. Keanu finally lifts his head and looks at her, his eyes filled with quiet honesty. He tells her the last song is different from the rest. It is not built from sadness or hope or recovery. Instead, it is built from a moment he never forgot, a moment that shaped him without him expecting it. Sandra listens carefully, feeling her heart stretch with emotion. She asks in a gentle whisper what moment he means. Keanu shakes his head softly and says the song will explain better than words ever could. He takes a slow breath, then presses play. Final track begins with a single soft note, almost like a heartbeat starting for the first time. Sandra feels that same soft shiver she felt earlier, but now it is stronger and filled with meaning. The melody is warm but powerful, gentle but deep, like a memory that finally found its voice after years of silence. Sandra closes her eyes and lets the music flow through her. She feels herself pulled into an emotional space she cannot fully describe. Every note feels familiar, but in a new way. It feels like a reflection of something she once felt herself. When she opens her eyes, Keanu is already watching her. His gaze is calm but intense, almost as if he is waiting for her to see something hidden in the sound. She listens again, this time paying closer attention. Slowly, she realizes the melody carries tiny echoes of the earlier songs, pieces of hope from one track, pieces of peace from another, pieces of strength from another, and then she feels it. A faint music pattern that feels connected to her inner memories, something small she once said. Something soft she once did, something she did not even think he noticed. She looks at him with eyes full of quiet shock. He nods gently, understanding the confusion building inside her. Sandra whispers almost to herself, asking how this song came to be. Keanu takes another long breath and begins to speak. He tells her that years ago, during a moment when he felt his world becoming too heavy, she appeared beside him without asking questions. She sat down in silence. She placed a warm cup in front of him. She looked at him not with pity but with a calm understanding. She stayed long enough for him to feel seen. And then she left quietly, giving him exactly what he needed without expecting anything in return. Sandra remembers the moment now. A quiet room, a peaceful afternoon. He had looked tired that day. She never knew how deeply he was wounded inside. She simply sat with him because she cared about him as a friend. She never realized she was giving him something he would carry for years. Keanu continues speaking. He says that after she left that afternoon, something inside him shifted. He felt a sense of peace he had not felt in a long time. He realized that truly kind people do not try to fix you. They sit beside you while you find the strength to fix yourself. He says that moment changed the way he saw the world. It changed the way he understood connection. And because the moment felt too important to forget, he went home and turned the feeling into music. Sandra feels her eyes well up. She has to look away for a moment to process the depth of what he is saying. The viewer can feel the emotional weight too. It is no longer just a playlist. It is a sanctuary of memories, a map of his healing. a quiet tribute to the people who helped him when he could not help himself. The music continues playing as Keanu speaks softly. He explains that he created the final song to remind himself of one truth. He says that truth is this: sometimes the greatest change in your life comes from someone who simply sits beside you without making noise. Someone who sees you as human, not as a responsibility. Someone who respects your silence. Someone who offers peace without taking anything in return. Sandra feels her breath shake. She asks him why he never told her this before. Keanu smiles gently and says because the moment was too pure to disturb. He wanted to protect it. He wanted to keep it safe. He says he did not share the song because he felt it belonged to something sacred, something he was afraid to break. The music grows a little louder, filling the space with warmth. Sandra feels the emotion rising through her chest like a soft tide. She looks at Keanu with new eyes, eyes that finally understand how deeply he values her presence. She feels a mix of surprise, gratitude, tenderness, and quiet awe. She had no idea she had once given him something that mattered so deeply. But the suspense is not finished. Keanu then tells her the real twist. He says the song is not only about the moment she helped him, it is also about what he learned from her. He says she taught him something without knowing it. She taught him that gentle hearts still exist. She taught him that silence can heal. She taught him that not every strong person looks strong on the surface. And she taught him that kindness can change a person without making a sound. Sandra feels stunned. Her throat tightens with emotion. She whispers that she never knew she had that effect on him. Keanu shakes his head softly and tells her she never needed to know. He says true kindness works quietly. It never asks for recognition. It simply exists. The song slowly fades, and the night becomes silent again. Keanu presses stop and holds the music player in both hands, as if closing a chapter of his life. He tells Sandra the playlist was something he hid because it was too meaningful to explain to anyone else. He tells her he shared it with her today because she is the only person who deserves to know the truth behind it. He tells her the playlist is not only a memory of his journey, but also a quiet tribute to her kindness. Sandra feels her heart tremble with emotion. She reaches out and finally places her hand gently on his. Their hands remain still but connected, the quiet touch speaking louder than any words ever could. Keanu looks into her eyes and says the final line of part 5, the line that deepens the suspense for the final part. He tells her the playlist was shaped by the moment she gave him peace. And now he wants to show her the moment that changed him even more. The night felt heavier and softer at the same time when part 6 began, as if everything around them understood that the final truth was about to rise to the surface. The lake was silent. The moonlight rested gently on the water. The wind moved only enough to remind them that the world was still listening. Sandra could feel her heartbeat slowing and deepening. The playlist had already revealed a side of Keanu she never expected to see. But there was something else in his eyes now, something unspoken. Something waiting. The hook for part 6 begins when Keanu places the old music player down beside them and turns his full attention toward her. His expression is calm but full of meaning, like someone finally ready to speak a truth he had carried silently for years. Sandra sits still, her hands resting softly on her lap, her eyes steady and warm. She does not interrupt. She knows the moment must come from him. She knows whatever he is about to say holds the final piece of the story. Keanu takes a slow breath. He looks down at the water for a moment before raising his eyes back to her. He tells her that the playlist was his way of remembering the moments that helped him survive and grow. He says the songs were never meant for the world. They were a private reminder that there were still good people who understood peace. Then he adds something even more powerful. He says the playlist was complete the day he created the final song, but something changed recently. Something made him return to it. Something made him want to see her. Sandra feels her breath pause in her chest. She whispers softly, asking what changed. Keanu looks at her with a quiet warmth and tells her that he realized he had spent years hiding the meaning of the playlist from the one person who deserved to know the truth. He says he did not want to keep gratitude inside him anymore. He did not want her to walk through life without knowing the impact she once had on him. He says he wanted her to understand her own kindness, not for praise, not for pride. But because she deserved to know, she once gave someone real peace. Sandra feels her eyes fill with emotion. She tells him gently that she never expected any of this. She tells him she never thought a simple, quiet moment could affect him that deeply. Keanu shakes his head softly and explains something that touches her heart completely. He says that people often think kindness must be big to matter, but the truth is different. He says the smallest moment can become the strongest memory. He says the gentle acts are the ones that shape a person quietly. He says the day she sat with him, without asking for anything, gave him a kind of peace that stayed with him for years. The emotional tension rises when Keanu shifts slightly closer to her. His voice grows softer, deeper, more sincere. He tells her the real reason he wanted to see her today was not only to share the playlist. He says the playlist was the doorway. The truth is deeper. He tells her he came because he wanted to thank her not with words but with honesty. He wanted her to know that she once helped him find himself again. He says she reminded him of the kind of human he wanted to be. Sandra feels a warm tear slip down her cheek. She wipes it gently, embarrassed for a moment, but Keanu's soft smile makes her feel safe. She admits that she always admired the way he stayed gentle even when life became heavy. She tells him she never knew her presence meant something to him. Keanu shakes his head again and says she never needed to know. That is what made the moment so pure. She gave without expecting. She helped without announcing. She cared without needing recognition. He says that kind of heart is rare. The story builds toward its final emotional reveal when Keanu picks up the music player again and holds it in both hands. He says there is something she has not heard yet, something he never recorded, something he only carried inside him. Sandra looks at him with curiosity and warmth. Keanu takes a breath and tells her that the moment she sat with him that day taught him a truth he never forgot. He says the truth is that sometimes life brings one person into your path not to change everything in one moment, but to guide you gently toward who you are meant to become. Then he tells her the final shocking reveal, delivered with kindness and deep respect. He says she did not just give him a peaceful moment. She gave him a direction. She reminded him that even when life feels heavy, there is always one person who will understand you without needing answers. He says that one moment gave him the strength to rebuild his life quietly. He says he owes a part of his healing to her. Sandra's heart softens further. Her eyes fill again, but this time with gratitude and warmth, not sadness. She reaches out and gently places her hand on his, this time without hesitation. The touch is silent but full of meaning. Keanu looks at their hands and smiles softly. Then Sandra asks the question sitting quietly inside her chest. She asks him why he shared all this now after so many years. Keanu looks into her eyes and answers with complete honesty. He says because he finally understood that gratitude is not meant to stay silent. He says kindness deserves to be honored. He says she deserved to know that she made a difference in his life. The emotional resolution deepens when Sandra whispers that she is glad she was there for him. She says she would do it again without thinking twice. Keanu nods and says he knows. That is what makes her special. He then gently presses the music player off and sets it down. The playlist is complete, so is the truth. The night becomes still again, but this time the silence feels peaceful and warm. Sandra leans her head gently against his shoulder, just like she did all those years ago without knowing he needed it. Keanu closes his eyes for a moment, letting the peace wash over him. It feels like a full circle, a moment returning home. They sit quietly, the lake calm, the world soft, their hearts steady. Not in romance, not in tension, but in something deeper. A bond built on respect, honesty, and the kindness that shaped them both. Sandra whispers a final line that completes the story in the most meaningful way. She says that she did not fall in love with the music. She fell in love with the moment. Keanu smiles, understanding exactly what she means. And for the first time in a long time, both of them feel completely understood.